Hello and welcome to the next edition of our New South Wales Life Members Series. Today we're joined by a former first grade touch judge and someone who's been Executive Officer of the Association for 9 years and served in many other roles. It's Frank Leonard. Welcome, Frank.
Thank you, Daniel. Thank you very much. And I just want to congratulate you on this initiative. I've seen two of the first 4 or 5 that you've done, and you're doing a great job.
Oh, thank you, Frank. I really appreciate that. As I've said to many others, I'm really enjoying putting all the bits and pieces together and finding out more about the history of our great association and its wonderful members. How are you doing, and what are you keeping or doing to keep yourself busy and active at the moment?
Not a great deal. We're working to, my wife and I, we sort of work to a bit of a daily schedule, which involves breakfast, and then I sit down and do one of the 400 crosswords in a book that my daughter gave me for Christmas some years ago. Then we go off for a 1-hour walk, and then we'll come back, and we've been doing a bit of painting, outdoor chairs. Got a shed, an outdoor shed that my wife actually took to, and has done a really good job on that. And watch a bit of television, particularly some DVDs we've had stacked away for ages and never looked at, and we really like some of the comedy DVDs. So we've got the 2 Ronnies, and we've got Dave Allen and some of those sort of fellas there.
Okay.
A bit of a laugh.
So you're certainly keeping yourself busy in retirement.
Trying to, yes.
Now, can I ask you about one of your particular pursuits or hobbies? You're singing?
Yes. Started a long time ago. Actually, I was at boarding school in Sydney for 3 years. I won a scholarship to Holy Cross College Ryde. And in one particular year, one of the brothers decided to put on a musical, and I played the role of Katisha, would you believe? Being an all-male school, that was a little bit strange, but that's how it started. And then one of the brothers, Brother Jared, recognised me in a tryout for a school choir, and I sang boy soprano until I was about 15, and I used to sing the descant for the nuns' chorus, Ave Maria, and those sort of things. Anyway, Teachers College, I won a scholarship there, and I did a couple of musicals. Iolanthe was one, and can't remember the other one. And then when I started teaching, I was about 2 years into teaching at Robertson, and a dairy farmer who was a member of the Bowral Choral Society invited me to join the Choral Society, and that's where I met the lovely lady on the screen at the moment with the glasses on. She was cast as a female role in, oh gosh, these musicals. It wasn't White Horse Inn, it doesn't matter. And anyway, men in those days thought it was fairly puffy to sing or to belong to musical societies. So there was always a shortage of men. So I was cast as her father now. I won't tell you what the age difference is, but I am younger than she is. So they put a whole lot of white streaks through her hair and all that sort of stuff. As a result of that, I played 8 leading roles in the Choral Society in Bowral, and I got into refereeing, and all of that disappeared until I got to Scone, and towards the end of my time up there, I played the leading role in White Horse Inn and Oklahoma, and then when we moved into Wollongong, I played a number of minor roles in 3 or 4 musicals, until I was graded into the touch judge ranks of the New South Wales Rugby League. But on the left-hand side of the screen, there's the group called Sway, and We came out of a choir that I joined when I moved to Wollongong. It was I joined the choir so that my wife would have the opportunity to sing in a choir as well, because I was also in a male voice choir, which is, I know you've got a photograph of somewhere. So these two ladies invited me to join them in a duet. We called ourselves Sway, and the one on the right-hand side of the photograph, Linda, she quit after about 4 to 5 years because she was much younger than us and she was becoming a grandma. So Louise on the right, she and I, we're still going. We've been entertaining in the Illawarra for about the last 11 years. We are daytime singers. We don't go out at night, and we do about 50 to 60 gigs a year for community groups, view clubs, those sorts of groups. So that's it. That's the musical side of it, and the CD is that you see. That's the first one we produced. We've produced 3. That first one sold 1,000 copies within no time.
Okay.
But,
Wow.
haven't done so well with the last one.
Okay. I suppose you have to have a bit of a chuckle. You met as her father and then you became her husband.
Yeah, I never thought of it that way. Yeah,
All right.
no.
So
We married in 1965, and we're coming up 55 years in August.
that's a credit to you both. A credit to you both. So you're a retired teacher by trade. You were actually a principal of a couple of schools. Can you tell us a little bit about?
Yeah, that's good.
Your time
Yeah,
as principal.
Yes, I never ever wanted to be a teacher. My father was a school teacher, and he came through the Depression. He lost his dad when his father was only 40, and he was one of 6 siblings. Well, he had 5 siblings. So he virtually had to leave school at the end of 3rd year and help his mother raise the brothers and sisters. When all of that was completed, it was a depression. So at the end of the Depression, he went off and stayed with an auntie in Sydney and went to 4th Street High School and did 1 year of teachers college training and became a primary school teacher. And he was pushing me the whole time to become a teacher. And I know why, and I think it was because he wanted me to have a government job just in case there was going to be another depression, which we're heading towards at the moment. And so I won a scholarship, Teachers College scholarship to Wagga Wagga Teachers College, and I took it up, and I'm so glad I did because probably 2 of the best years of my life. The ratio of females to males was 2 to 1, so I was like a smorgasbord. And I played rugby union and didn't play on the 1st grade side. We had some really good players in the college. I played in the 2nd grades. There were 2 2nd grade sides, reserve grade sides. I played in the Greens, and in my 2nd year I scored 18 tries. I was on the wing, and we won the competition 2 years running.
Now,
so to answer your question, yes, I became a primary school teacher. I started at Robertson, 3 years there. Then I had about 6 or 7 years at Moss Vale High School. I didn't apply for Moss Vale. The inspector asked me to go to the school to teach kids with learning difficulties, and I could see that there was no promotion possibilities in that area. So what I did was started a university degree through correspondence with the New England University, and it took me 7 years to get a Bachelor of Arts degree, but in that time I won a promotion within the teaching service, and so as soon as I graduated, I was sent to Scone as the subject head of social sciences. I spent 5 years there, and while I was there, I was promoted onto into eligibility to become a deputy principal, but the number of people who were on that long list and it was a seniority list, was in excess of 1,800, and there were only about 400 high schools in the state. So I said to my wife, let's get out of here, give the kids some sun, surf and sand. So I applied for every school from Tweed Heads to Eden, and I was appointed to Maruya. I was at Maruya High School for 9 years, where I won another promotion, which made me eligible for deputy principal. I took up the deputy principalship of Woolooware High School in, I can't remember the year, but I think it was about 1998, 97, 98. 5 years there, and I was interviewed because they changed the system for a principal's position by nine of the head sherangs of the New South Wales Education Department at King's Cross one afternoon, and I was ranked number 2 in the state. And they introduced affirmative action at the same time, which meant 40% of the positions had to go to women. And I applied for about 4 schools and missed out to women in 2 of them, and to locals here in Wollongong at the other 2. So I said to the boss at Woolooware, I love this school, I'll just see my time out here. The next thing, I was headhunted by the Catholic Education Office in Wollongong, and just cut a long story short, I was appointed to St John the Evangelist High School in Nowra, which was only 3 years young. I was going into year 9 when I got there, and I took the school through to its first high school certificate and 2 more. And then I was offered St Joseph's Catholic High School at Albion Park, and I finished my career out there. I spent 5 years there, and in both schools, I've got to say, I had a wonderful experience.
Yep. So I found a program here from 1991. When you were at Woolooware, you were actually the coach of the Buckley Shield side, and there's a couple of famous names in there. Young Adam Dykes.
Correct. There were very, very few rugby league players in that under-14 group, and I took it upon myself to establish an under-14 side. We entered the Buckley Shield, which was a statewide competition, and the 2 outstanding players in the side were Adam Dykes and Judd O'Shea. And the rest of them, they just sort of played off them and learnt the game as we went along. We won every game we played by a cricket score until we got to the final at Parramatta Stadium, and we played Tormina High, and we were down 28-18 with about 15 minutes to go. And I sent a message out to Adam Dykes, and I said, if you can score under the post and we kick the goal, I said, we're back in this game. He almost immediately was able to do that. And then in the centres, I had a young boy named Nick Potter. His dad was the principal of Carringbar North Primary School. And Nick had scored tries in just about every game we played, but he hadn't scored that day. So I sent a message to him and said, Nick, I need a try from you. With about 2 minutes to go, he scored within kicking distance of the post, and we won the game 32 points to 28, I think it was.
So let's go all the way back to the beginning. You're known for your days at Illawarra Referees Association, but you actually didn't start at Illawarra. You had times in Group 6, Group 12 and Group 7. Extremely successful, refereeing 9 first-grade country grand finals. Can you tell us a bit about how you took up the whistle and why you took up the whistle?
Yeah, I'll just correct you there. I started in Group 6. On a Wednesday afternoon during the winter months with rugby league, we'd leave the school and go down to the Mossvale Showground, and we played rugby league. And the sports master at the time asked, would I mind refereeing? And I wasn't a referee at the time. So I ran around and refereed, and he said to me one day, he said, you should become a referee. And I said, why? And he said, you blow the whistle like a piccolo. Well, the reason I knew how to blow the whistle was because my dad was a referee in Group 7. He refereed 7 grand finals in Group 7. And I used to go to the Nowra Showground with him or over to Bomaderry, sit on the sideline, and I knew exactly what tone the whistle had to be blown for at, given the infringement. When I took up a position at Moss Vale High, I was drinking at a hotel in Bowral one Friday afternoon, as you do, and a maths teacher from Bowral High, a fellow named Jim Carey, he said to me, "What? I want to become a rugby league referee." And I said, "Well, I've thought about it." He said, "Listen, why don't we travel to Sydney on a couple of Tuesday nights and go to Cyril Wigzell's lectures and see if we can make it." So that's what we did. And then we went to sit for our exam one Tuesday night. He got through and I failed. So one of the examiners was Laurie Breers, and Laurie Breers said to me, "Come up to my place next Wednesday afternoon. I'll take you through the board, and then we'll go in and we'll do the exam." So I did that, and I had Cole Pearce as the examiner, and Cole Schomburg was sitting behind me as a marker. I passed, and I started refereeing in Group 6. And I've got to say, my first game was under sixes, I think, out at Berrima, and at half time I was absolutely disgusted with the manner in which the coaches spoke to the players and bawled them out. And so I said to the group executive, I said, "I refuse to referee at that level if that's the way that the coaches are going to carry on." So in my first year I did some under 18 centres. One memorable one was at Campbelltown. Two school groups particularly, one from the Catholic high school and one from the state high school. They were to play each other the following weekend, and they were at each other's throats all through the week. Well, it was a bloodbath. I think there was 2 or 3 finished up in hospital. And I said to the 2 senior referees of the day, one was Ballard and the other John Joyce from Bowral, I said, "That's it, I'm finished." "Oh no, don't give it away, don't give it away, you've got too much to offer." So I gave it some thought and I thought, all right, I'll keep going. So I finished that season, and in the second season I did a couple of reserve grade games and the first grade touch in the grand final, and they gave me one first grade game to referee. I didn't do too badly in that, and then I was moved, I was offered Scone High School because I'd finished my degree with New England, and I went to Scone High School and straight away into Group 21. And my father didn't really have any influence. He never said to me anything about, "Well, I'd like you to be a referee," or "Go for it." He just, the fact that he was a referee was good in a way, in that I had picked up some skills, I suppose you'd call it, from him. And he refereed 7 grand finals in Group 7 and is a life member of Group 7. I went into Group 21, and we were in Scone for 5-6 years, and I refereed 5 of the first grade grand finals up there. One of the things I say to first grade referee Shane Hayne. Shane Hayne refereed 4 first grade grand finals in Group 21, and I did 5. So I always say to him, "I did one better than you, mate." But anyway, I certainly didn't go anywhere near the path that he took and the success that he experienced. So after a period of time there, I was successful in getting a position at Moruya High, and I refused to refereeing Group 6, I think it was, down there that covered the snowy mountains out of Minabe, Cooma, and I couldn't see myself refereeing in those conditions through the winter and taking my family there. So I gave my address as a post office box in Bateman's Bay, and I joined Group 7 referees, and I refereed 5, I think it was, 4 or 5 grand finals down there. During that time, I was picking up country divisional representative appointments, and so I refereed divisional games at Parkes, Lismore, Queanbeyan and Bathurst, and was vying with people like Kevin Riolo and Noel Bissett and a few others who were considered to be the top in the country.
So
that's how it started.
Before you even came to Sydney, when you were graded in 1989, you touch judged the City versus Country Firsts in 1977. The referee was Don McDonald, a well-known referee.
Yes.
How did that experience come about?
It was the practice that New South Wales Rugby League would select a country referee to run the reserve grade game, or the game prior to the country city firsts game. I think that's how it worked.
Yep.
And a country touch judge to run with the city touch judge. And I got a call. I think the year was 1990. Forgotten what year it was. And the referee was Don McDonald.
77.
77. Yeah, and there was an incident in that game where it was pouring rain, absolutely bucketed down the whole game, and there was only 10,000 people in the crowd, and they were all huddled up in the stand. And country was being thrashed, but they were tackled very close to the touchline that I was responsible for. They got up and played the ball to Larry Corowa, and he raced across the field after passing the ball, and then took another pass from a support player, and he went over the line on the far side. Meanwhile, I'm standing on the touchline with my flag up, because as he stepped to pass the ball inside, he stepped on the touchline. Now, he didn't step on the touchline while he was getting to his feet. I'll make that very clear. He stood on the touchline as he went to pass the ball to the support player. And anyway, someone alerted Don McDonald to the fact that that was happening, or that had happened. And Don came back and to set the scrum, and he looked at me and he just threw his eyes in the air, and I thought, oh, I don't know, I'm in big trouble, because it was in the first half. However, he treated me fairly gently, and City ran out very easy winners.
So you came to Sydney in 1989. You're graded from Illawarra. You then go on to make your first grade debut in 1992 as a touch judge in round 1 from in the match between Norths versus Canterbury at North Sydney Oval. When was it clear to you in your career that it was time to become a touch judge? How did that come about?
Well, I didn't really have an option, Daniel, because when I arrived in Wollongong to do take up residence here, I was really appointed to Woolooware, as I said earlier, but at that time, interest rates were running at 18%, and I couldn't sell my house in Moruya, so I rented it out, and I had to rent a place in Wollongong and travel. I decided to travel daily to Sydney to Woolooware, and I did 12 months with Illawarra. I saw an article in the Illawarra Mercury that they were short of referees, and I spoke to Warren Wynne, the president, and he said, yes, we'd welcome you. And so I did another 12 months another 6 months in first grade, and then on a very wet and boggy parish park, I pulled both Achilles tendons. I was out for a few weeks. And when I came back, I said to Barry Keenahan, who was the appointments board person, look, just appoint me to reserve grade. That I'm quite happy with that. The end of the season, I got a phone call in December from Dennis Braybrook, and Dennis Braybrook said, would you like to trial as a touch judge for the New South Wales competition? And I said, would I what? I was 47 years of age, and I thought my career was all over. So I went to Sydney, and it was a game at Leichhardt Oval. Kelvin Jess was the referee, and a blue broke out down on the 25 metres at the northern end of the ground, but the non-offending side had the ball, were able to get it away. They raced upfield and they scored under the post. I went on the paddock and sorted out the blue, and then ran up to Kelvin and made a report, and it was on that basis that I won a position as a touch judge, because the assessor, I forget who it was at the time, said I handled it extremely well.
So from that point on, who were some mentors for you as a touch judge coming through in the ranks?
Well, my first trial game was with Les Matthews.
Squirrel gets inside, picked up
that was at Newtown.
By Tallis.
And I was well and truly told which way was up prior to the game, because that was the sort of fellow Les was. He, I mean, he did it in a nice way, but I found that very helpful. Others that helped me in the early days were Phil Cooley, and I was always grateful for his assistance. Ian McCall, I suppose being a fellow teacher, he felt he had an obligation to give me a hand, but he was also president of the association at the time, so that was one of the reasons I think he might have gave me some assistance. And others that I watched and learnt from were people like Michael Ryan, Steve Betts, names I just can't come up with them at the moment, but and I also found the assessments helpful, and you know, if I had the time, I'd just reach over into my waste paper basket and hold you up all of my assessment sheets. I kept them all and went through them the other day and put them into categories: first grade, reserve grade, and then towards the end of my career, I did a fair bit of time in Metro Cup.
So throughout your on-field career with the New South Wales Rugby League,
I lost you there.
Oh. Throughout your career with the New South Wales Rugby League, how did you find travelling to Sydney, working and refereeing at the same time?
Yeah, I kept myself very fit. I've tried to keep myself fit throughout my life. Actually, I was played a lot of sport as a young fella, and I was a member of the Nowra athletic clubs until I moved away. I joined when I was living in Barrel and early married. I joined Ryde Hornsby Athletic Club, so fitness was never been an issue. And when I'd come home from from school, I would run around the streets of Corrimal, and I'd also, once we got into the groove of testing, particularly the burpees, or whatever you call it, the one that you go backwards and forwards 10 metres to see how many times you can do it. And I think we had to do it 11 times in order to pass the test. I'd go down to the beach and mark out 10 metres, and I would run up, back, up, back, up, back, up, back. So I kept myself fit, and no, I didn't. I found the drive to Woolooware. It was only an hour, but I stayed on after school, went out to prepare for the following day, that kind of thing. I suppose it was a burden on my wife, because we had a family of two boys and three boys and a girl, and they were all still living at home. So I was conscious of trying to get home of an afternoon and give her a hand. However, throughout my whole career, she has been totally supportive, and I've got to say, I couldn't have done it if I felt that she was against what I was attempting to do. I remember the night I was asked to be the executive officer. It was at a presentation evening in Sydney, Cockle Bay, and Les Matthews was there, and it was obvious he wasn't well. And he called me over and he said, "If I nominate you for the position of executive officer, would you stand?" And I said, "Well, I need to ask my wife for her opinion first." So I went over and I asked her what she thought of it, and she said, "Yeah, give it a go." And I mean, she did that once earlier in my career. I was one of 84 interviewed for a group study exchange team to go to England back in 1978. And I had to go through a series of 5 interviews, and we had these little kids, and I kept saying to her, I think I should pull out. And she said, "No, you keep going, you keep going." Well, it got to my birthday, 4th of December, 1977, and I was going for a walk across the park near our place, and my wife ran out and she said, she was so excited, she said, "You've been selected in the team to go to England." So that's the kind of woman she's been.
Yeah. She's been very, very supportive. So without question, well, I'll ask you the question. Was the highlight of your career State of Origin 2 in Melbourne in '95? But before then, you actually you were in-goal touch judge at Lang Park in 1991.
That's right, yeah. That I was surprised at getting that appointment, actually, but anyway, it was a real thrill, and I was on with Stephen Betts, and I think Billy Harrigan had the game, and Meninga absolutely belted O'Connor in the first half, and it was down the far end of the field, and very close to the Queensland touch judge, and I don't know his name, and I don't want to dob him in, but he didn't come in at all. He just let go at half time. I said to him, "Didn't you see that?" He said, "Oh, we let those sort of things go up here." So that was that. That was a real thrill, and that was around about the time that they used to throw cans at officials. I don't remember being bombarded, but there might have been a few thrown on, but I think Mick Stone has a better memory of that sort of thing than what I do. Yeah.
So the highlight comes in '95.
That was a thrill. And
Can you tell us a bit about the brawl, the famous brawl at the MCG?
Yeah, well, Mick Stone was the referee's coach, coordinator, and he was in Melbourne with us, and he got us together. Martin Weeks was the other touch judge, and
Eddie Ward.
Queensland, who?
Eddie Ward.
Queensland referee, Eddie Ward. Yeah, he got the three of us together, and he said, "There's a rumour that there's going to be a blue, and it's going to come out of the first scrum." So we went out prepared for it, and sure enough, first scrum went down, up went Sidaris's head, and I've learned since, and I've only learned this in the last couple of weeks, that Queensland had it all prepared. One of them was going to call out Queenslander as the ball came into the scrum, and that's exactly what happened. And that was a cue for all of the Queenslanders to start swinging. To me, it looked as though it was a rehearsed blue, because I ran on, and it didn't matter who I went to. I didn't see a punch land. I saw a hell of a lot of swinging arms. I almost got blown away with the breeze coming off the swinging arms. I think the only two I separated were Wishart and Barnhill.
Yeah, there was a lot of big swings there, but not much contact.
No. And when I ran across to Eddie to report what I'd seen, he virtually waved me away because he'd seen enough, and I think Martin Weeks had made a report anyway. And with him, Eddie's main goal was to get them apart and get on with the game.
Yep. So, in your 84 game career from 1991 to 96 in first grade, you had a few milestones. The State of Origins we've mentioned. You also were touch judge on a Commonwealth Bank Cup Grand Final in 1995 at the SFS with Tony Kelly and Barry Ruddle. What's probably your fondest memory from your first grade career?
One of the things I was proud of, I suppose, was it was in my second last year, I think it was. I was appointed to 11 games straight that were television games, and about 4 of them were in Queensland. Now, they weren't playing. We weren't playing on what's the ground's name?
Suncorp.
They've changed the name of the ground, but we didn't play on
Lang Park.
Lang Park, that's right. We were out of Brisbane somewhere at another venue, and I remember that as being perhaps a bit of a feather in my cap that I had those 11 straight televised games.
Yep.
Probably there's nothing really sticks out. I had cause to run on to Penrith Park, and he's got another name now, one afternoon to report Brad Pittler for holding back a would-be defender by the jersey. Outside of that, everyone knows about it. Following the State of Origin, where I came out in Melbourne 1995, and I came off on a high 3 nights later. I was on Lynn Stadium, a game between I think it was Canberra and
Illawarra.
Yep. And the lighting consisted of floodlights along the tops of the bandstand on the southern side of the ground, and then there were 2 trucks parked on the northern side with a gale blowing and the lights swinging backwards and forwards in the breeze. I'm not going to use that as an excuse. I know why I made it blue. The lorry Daly had 2 attempts at goal on the eastern end, and both went just outside the left-hand upright. A try was scored, and he went out and was making a kick from about the same position, and it followed the same trajectory. And I thought, this is missed again. I got my eyes, waved it away, and it went inside the post by about 2.5 inches. And I had another touch just behind me. I won't dob him in, but I said to him later in the evening, I said, I waved that away. Why did you wave it away? And he said, because you did. I said, well, you're supposed to make up your own mind. Anyway, that's not a memorable event, but it's certainly one that led to me being dropped for 10 weeks. And the touch judge coach at the time, another guy who helped me a lot, was Max Tonset, and he said that I hadn't shown sufficient remorse.
So, as with everyone's career, lots of ups and downs throughout our career, the origin being your highlight. We move on now to off the field, and you served as executive officer for 9 years. You told us how that came about, but did you think at the time it would be for 9 years? And what did you enjoy most about that role?
Well, I think I indicated earlier how I got into the position, and one of the things I was proud of was that Les Matthews had nominated me, and Dennis Bagarino was the seconder, and I felt that at the time they were 2 of the key leaders of the New South Wales Referees Association. I had just retired as a principal of St Joseph's and was looking for something to do in my career, and so I took it on. One of the things I felt I could contribute to was improved communications, because we were coming into the time of computer technology, and we were not making any use of that at that stage. And the other thing I wanted to work on was trying to get the factions in the association working together, a little closer together. However, I don't know that I had a great deal of success at that, although I did put a lot into organising or working with the social committee in organising the social events that were quite popular back in those days, but they've lost their appeal. And the one thing that Paul Simpkins did successfully was set out to unite all groups, and I've got to take my hat off to the success that he enjoyed in that area.
Now, you also served as part of the ARL-RA as a director for 6 years.
Yes.
You got to travel to many championships as part of this.
Yes.
How were those experiences?
Well, the ARL-RA was formed in about 1999, and so I came into it after it had been running for about 10 years. And as you can see from the photograph, the board was drawn from the major referees associations around Australia, So you've got Nick Best and Kevin Riolo from country. You've got Tony Maxud, and we had John Top from Queensland. Steve Brown also from country, and Steve Betts and myself from New South Wales. And its role seemed to be to look after the emerging states, the referees in the emerging states, to provide opportunities for those referees and to do some coaching in those areas. And to do that, 2 members of the board would be sent away with 8 referees chosen from across Australia to a major centre, and we would work with them for a week. And this photograph you've got up in front of you at the moment, Belinda Sleemans down in the front row. You've got Kennedy from Queensland in the back row. Both of those are now in the NRL.
Yes.
Got Vella from New South Wales. This one, Jack Bird, just been graded recently. I can't identify any others from that photograph that have gone on to bigger things, although they could have done in CRLRA and in Queensland.
Yeah.
Others that I'm aware of that have done well are Josh McGowan and Darian Ferner. They've both up in New South Wales first grade competition. Joey Butler from country, he's refereed I think the last 2 grand finals in Group 21. Kyle Fauntleroy from Darwin, he's refereed the last 2 grand finals, first grade grand finals in Darwin. And I've mentioned 2 others that are doing reasonably well. Matthew Treneman in New South Wales, Daniel Swash in Queensland, Henry Street in Victoria, who's now in the Northern Territory. So they're just a few of the names that I can remember from those camps.
So in 2006, you become a life member of the New South Wales Referees Association. What did that recognition mean to you?
It was something that I wondered whether it would ever happen. The contribution I made prior to getting life membership was largely to the social committee. I worked under Steve Betts. He was the board member or director in charge. Also Tom Healy and Alan Farlow. So I didn't ever deem that I had done anything else of any significance. But Michael Ryan, God rest his soul, he nominated me in 3 successive years. And I think it was because he was so impressed with the way I trained. Like I said earlier, I was 47 when I was graded, and yet I've still got the results of the testing that Trevor Davies did in time, and I was able to match it with a lot of the younger blokes. In fact, he and some of the other directors would stand in the pathway from the dressing room at Lidcombe down onto the oval. And every time I'd run past in the group, Michael Ryan would sing out, "Viagra." And his wife came along to a junior representative presentation night one night, and she couldn't think of my name, so she referred to me as Viagra. I got to tell you, being a good Catholic, I've never taken the stuff.
Oh, Too much information. Too much information.
Sorry.
Now,
Sorry about
in
that.
2008, you won the George and Amy Hansen Trophy, and then probably the most
Yes.
illustrious award is the Eric Koch Medal that you got in 2015. What did they mean to you?
I just was so pleased to have received both awards because I just felt that the work I'd done, particularly the travel. I mean, I've got a 2014, I think it is, Toyota Orion. It had 7,000 Ks on it when I bought it, and at the moment it shows 165 now. 1,000 Ks. Most of those miles or kilometres are rugby league related. And so I felt it was a recognition and a reward for the dedication I'd given to the job. Plus, I think I grew in the position of executive officer. Others might disagree, but I think I grew. I tried to do things a little differently each year and improve upon it. And well, it got to the point where I was able to dismiss or get out of the habit of having to read the minutes of board meetings. They would be sent out prior to a meeting. Another change I made was in the last couple of years, I didn't have to travel to board meetings in Sydney. We got teleconferencing going. That was largely done by Matt Hewitt. And so I'd just sit here where I am now and I'd be part of the meeting from home. Yeah. So that's just an example of the change. But I've been involved in the All Schools Carnival for God knows how long. I refereed in it. In my days in Scone, and I remember I had the under-13s at Moore Park, and I went round afterwards at the end of the day into the dressing room and was met by Brian Gately, who was on the social committee, and he made me feel very welcome. But the other country referee said, "What ground were you on?" And I said, "I was with the under-13s." They said, "Oh, the country secretary's just been there raving about a referee seen out on that ground." I thought, well, that's nice. And actually, that's where my career in country took off. Yep. From that particular day, because I got the under-18 championships grand final at the end of that season. And then, as I said, I've done 6 or 7 country divisional games.
So you've certainly contributed a lot to refereeing, and in recent years in junior refereeing in particular with, as you mentioned, the All Schools, Illawarra, and I suppose it was recognition for that you had the Frank Leonard Trophy named after you for the Tasha Gale competition, the girls competition, which has started in the last couple of years. That must have been quite a thrill.
It was, and a big surprise. I was at the presentation evening for the junior reps, whatever it was, 2 or 3 years ago, and when they'd finished with the men, the male referees, Paul Simpkins appeared from behind a palm bush in one of the rooms at the Canterbury Leagues Club, and he just pushed his trophy at me and he said, "I want you to present this," and he nominated the referee. And I looked at it and I welled up, I tears in my eyes. I just couldn't believe that I had won that recognition.
Yep. I was there on the night, and you were certainly were emotional, and it was a shock. He literally threw it on you at the time.
Exactly. Yeah. And it's great. It's great to see that women more and more are involved in our game, and I know that the NRL wants that to continue and to expand. And I think the Tasha Gale Cup is a significant addition to
the competitions played at the beginning of our season.
Yep. So before we head into our fast five, either or to finish off, what's something or the biggest thing that refereeing has given Frank Leonard, looking back on your career on and off the field?
So I missed the question. What's something?
What's the biggest thing that referees given you over your career?
First of all, friendship, and that's been a big part of it. I had a 70th birthday along the way, and I had about 6 couples come to that. It has kept me fit because the levels of fitness required were continually being adjusted, and I had to cope with that. Travel. One of the things I used to really enjoy was when Ansett was flying us around the country. All of us going away on a Saturday or a Sunday, we would meet at the coffee lounge at Sydney Airport after picking up our ticket, and we'd have a coffee together, fly away, and then probably get together again on the way back. A little bit of additional income.
Yep. All right, our fast five to finish off. Barbecue or tomato sauce?
A barbecue, but don't talk to Dennis Spagarino about the barbecue that I organised and conducted on Ash Wednesday.
Ford or Holden?
Definitely Holden. I owned, I'll be 4 of them.
State of Origin or Grand Final?
I'd love to have been involved in a grand final, but it's only just in front of State of Origin. When you go out in front of 84,000 people on the MCG, the hair on the back of your neck just stands up like you wouldn't believe.
Now, for a man who's lived most of his life on the coast, beach or snow?
Beach, definitely. Only went to the snow twice. Loved it, but because of my family situation, I just couldn't endorse spending so much money on gear and accommodation, and then ski lifts, etc., etc. So, yeah, would have loved to have given it another shot. Had a lovely weekend down there, but no.
Money or free time?
Free time.
All right. Well, as you can see, we've had a few little technical difficulties today. Frank and I have had a couple of attempts at this over a couple of hours, but we got it on and we've got through it. It's been a pleasure to talk to you, Frank. Look after your wife and family.
Certainly will. And thanks for your efforts today. I wanted to ask how you were able to find the time, given that you're in full employment, but I do know that teaching conditions at the moment are very different to those that I worked under.
Yeah. Time is money, but I always have time for our life members. Frank, have an excellent afternoon. I'll see you around.
Thank you, Daniel. Thank you very much. And all the best to all of you.